are in, and Leggy's got the legs to look at. Leggy's got the legs to look at.
Yeah! Every special ordinary girl. How the girl do you wanna be?
Hi freaks, I'm Penelope Peculiar, and today we're going to be talking about the dolls with the legs. If you don't know what I mean, we're going to be talking about Leggy Dolls. Leggy Dolls were released in 1972 by Hasbro, which we all know, of course. No. They come in at 10 inches long, with 7 inches of that being their legs, hence the name Leggy. Leggy Dolls were very short-lived, however, only surviving until 1973, the year after they were released. Now, a little bit more about these dolls. Of course, I said that they were 10 inches tall. They also had rooted hair and were posable in air quotation marks because they don't look that posable to me. I've never had one, so, you know, I don't know if I should be the judge, but they don't look that posable to me. So maybe it's just for the time. But they did come out with 4 different dolls named Jill, Nan, Kate, and Sue, which are very 70s names. Although Hasbro knew them by their hair color, black, blonde, brunette, and redhead. These dolls had mod-inspired fashions, and Hasbro also released several fashion packs to go along with your Leggy Dolls for the year that they were out. These dolls were not only in North America, but that is where they were known as Leggy Dolls. In Europe, they were known as Polistil? I don't know, I'm sorry. And Shiba in Japan, where they were also not that popular and obviously were also gone in 1973. It's truly really hard to pinpoint why these dolls didn't last that long, but we can come to a general conclusion that it probably had something to do with money. Sadly, that's usually what happens in these situations. There may have been a loss of interest or just not any interest at all during the time. The toy industry was also booming at this time. Obviously, Barbie was and still remains to be one of the most popular dolls, and Leggy Dolls were competing with this multi-million-dollar franchise. So I wonder who's gonna win. Also, maybe the cost of the doll production process was actually more expensive than they were making in sales. So they probably discontinued it due to a loss of funds, money. Despite the fact that these dolls did not last very long at all, they still to this day were what, 20, like 50, 40 years later, they still have a fan base. People are still collecting these dolls, although they do go for hundreds of dollars, which, you know, makes sense. Both in box and out of box, they're gonna run you some money, which, you know, we wonder why I don't have one. I would absolutely love to have one of these dolls, but I don't see it happening in my foreseeable future, sadly. It's thought that these dolls were gone forever, and they were, obviously, but we were also surprised when in 2007, MGA started putting some new dolls on the shelves, and they were called hi-glam dolls. These dolls came in at 12.5 inches tall with 8.25 inch long legs, which is still the majority of the doll, so they're very similar. They're just slightly taller. But these, I like to think of them as just like Y2K fashion version of the Leggy Dolls, because I think that makes the most sense. Like mod fashion, and as we'll get into, these ones are very, very Y2K, very, you know, we'll get there. These dolls were of course distributed by MGA, but that is not the creator of the doll. These dolls, the hi-glam dolls, were created by Giochi Preziosi. I should have looked this up. Which is an Italian toy company based in Colgate. Founded in 1978 by Enrico Perezosi. I hope I got it. Although the Leggy Dolls and the hi-glam dolls do share some similarities, they obviously have some differences as well. Like I before mentioned, they were slightly taller than the Leggy Dolls, more leggy, and their line included 5 dolls named Nicole, Pam, Alex, Julia, and Kit. Each doll came with their own Y2K fashions and accessories, lots of accessories. Sadly though, these 2 doll lines do have one thing in common, and that is only lasting a year on shelves. Now, we can probably look back at the same problems that we talked about during the leggy portion of the video, but it's just really sad. These came out in 2007 and were gone in 2008. Hi-glam dolls also continue to have a large fan base and collectors. People collect these dolls. Hi-glam dolls also go for hundreds of dollars, and they're slightly easier to get your hands on than a leggy doll just because they're not 50 years old, they're only 20 years old, but you know, it's still pretty difficult. And there's obviously not a lot of these dolls released and out there in the world anyways, because they went out of production so quickly. It's no wonder that these dolls have stayed relevant to this day though, because they have interesting proportions, awesome fashions. I absolutely love these doll lines. I think they're so cute. Leggy and hi-glam dolls are obviously very intriguing fashion doll lines, which is why I wanted to talk to you about it today. There wasn't a lot of resources for me to research this video, hence why it's not going to be a very long video. I promise longer videos coming. Longer videos on the way. But yeah, not a lot of resources, so I did have a very fun time researching for this video, but I didn't find out all the answers to all my questions. So if you know anything about these dolls, go ahead and tell me about it in the comments. If there's anything that you know for a fact that I left out, or you know, anything along those lines, because I would love to talk to you guys down in the comments. Some of the resources I did get to look at though were people's personal blogs, where I got to see their thoughts about these dolls, and that's probably one of my favorite parts about researching. Like, I don't want to call it like, you know, not mainstream. I wouldn't call these dolls mainstream, like a Barbie or a Monster High doll. No offense, girls. But researching something that's a little more underground does take you to some very interesting places on the internet. But that's actually all I have to talk about in this video, sadly, because like I just said, I didn't get all the answers to all my questions. So let's continue this discussion. Let's continue this discussion down in the comments. I'll see you there. And while you're down there, why don't you give this video a nice big thumbs up, and maybe subscribe to join our group of peculiar people here on my channel. I do have a Patreon where you can support me and the content I make here if you would like to. And you can also find me on Instagram. I post on there. No, I'm trying. That's really all I have to say, so you know what that means. Penelope Peculiar is out of the building.